Hello. Hi guys. I hope you're doing really well. So, I want to talk to you guys about the energy right now, the energy of the eclipse, how it is shaking and shifting us, how and what is arising as a result of the eclipse, and what you can do in order to move through this energy and evolve. So, right now, we are going through a very, very intense time on Earth. Eclipses are here to actually help us evolve, and they're actually here to bring things to the surface that need releasing within your soul, within your system. And Spirit said to me at the very beginning of this year, Lorna, you're here to heal the lineage. You're here to heal the ancestral lineage. And that message has got deeper and deeper. And now we're in the eclipse portal. I'm like, okay, I know why this message has been so strong from spirit, because all of our unhealed patterns, all of our unhealed ancestral trauma that sits within the cells of our human vessel, that sits within our energy field, that will keep playing out. Those patterns will keep playing out over and over. Okay, we'll be reliving our karma until we decide as a human no more, until we decide to move differently and to break that ancestral lineage. So, how we know if we're carrying ancestral trauma or generational patterns that's keeping us stuck is that we're not in complete and full alignment. So, what happens is we end up operating from our wounds rather than operating from our wholeness, rather than operating from alignment. Now, before I go into this deeper, I just want to point out that you can be really successful in business and still have ancestral trauma or generational wounds that need healing. But how you know whether you're carrying them is because you keep looping the same patterns. You keep looping the same patterns. So, I'm going to give you an example of one of the patterns that I had that was so sneaky, I didn't even realize. So, I have had to heal a lot of money wounding, a lot of scarcity, a lot of lack wounding. It's been going on for a few years now. And how this shows up is that every time I have a really high income month, the next month it drops. It's been very difficult for me to create consistent high income. It's always been high, low, high, low, high, low. Because what I didn't realize was the pattern that was running through the back end of how I behave and how I think is that if I get too successful, i.e., success can be measured in different ways, but let's just look at a monetary success. If I get too successful, my family and my friends will disown me, they'll abandon me. And I always knew that I had some kind of money block up until this year when I did some deep healing with one of my healers, and they regressed me back to a past life, and it was really, really vivid and quite horrific. And my family in that lifetime allowed me to be captured because of my soul gifts, because they were afraid of my power. Okay, so this is part of the witch wound. If I was to fully show up. And so, how it was playing out in this lifetime was that I was dipping all the time, all the time. And that's just one pattern, that's just one monetary pattern. But the underlying emotion is scarcity, lack, fear, right? And right now, through this eclipse portal, as a collective on the planet, we are being called to heal these three main patterns: lack, scarcity, and fear. Now, if any of you watching this did my mini mind that I did earlier on this year, I channeled an activation on those three emotions, and it was so frigging powerful. And it was specifically using my ancestral healing method. And I've been sharing it recently to my mailing list. So if you're not on my mailing list and you want to be, let me know, because I've been sharing this on my mailing list for you to actually sample it. It is so powerful because there are so many people right now where they're being called to heal this pattern. Now, this pattern can also be broken down into other ancestral wounds. So, for example, you could be carrying the wound of control. Now, the wound of control comes from an underlying lack because most of us have been taught that we need to control and we need to enforce and we need to ensure that things happen by forcing. We've been rewarded and conditioned that the more we do, the more we get, which actually isn't true. And I can evidence that because when I first jumped into my business after my contract role, I actually made my first 5-figure month by working less. And it wasn't force, it was about alignment, it was about energy. Nothing to do with input, nothing to do with effort. It was purely to do with my energy, right? So I can totally evidence that. So when we carry this wound of control, we're gripping, we're holding so tight. And what we have to do as part of our evolution on this planet is we have to learn to let go. We've got to learn to let go. And this is what I'm calling from grip to grace. This is just one wound. Okay. Part of your role, if you choose to on this planet, is to become what I call my energetic archetype. And those of you that have done my programs, you would have heard me say this before, but you become what I call the energetic alchemist. So this is where you recognize this pattern and you have the tools to be able to heal it and alchemize it. So you move into this energetic alchemist. You move away from trying to control and grip, and you move into a more embodied frequency. So you move into the frequency of trust. The opposite to control is trust and flow, right? So that's just one ancestral pattern that's playing out within your field. Now, you'll know if you carry that because you'll feel it in your body that you're trying to control stuff. In your external reality, you're going to struggle to delegate, right? You're going to try and hold on to stuff and you'll freak out when you're not in control. You'll know that, right? Your energy will, you'll just feel it. It's a knowing, an inner knowing, okay? Now, in my experience, there are 6 core wounds that we carry from our ancestral lineage. And my spiritual team are really enforcing that through this eclipse right now, this is our time on earth as a collective to really go deep into these ancestral wounds and to unlock our embodied leadership codes so that we can go into 2026 feeling more embodied and leading from a more embodied frequency. Now, if we choose not to evolve through this eclipse, because this is the last quarter now of this year, and this year in numerology is all about the frequency of 9, which is about completions and endings. So, this frequency that's coming to Earth right now is allowing us to heal the last part of our ancestral lineage so we can go into the new year on a higher timeline, emitting a higher frequency. Okay, so that's why it's so important that we're being called right now to step forward and have a look at these patterns. Now, your logical brain could go, oh, I'm not really, feeling this right now. I just don't know if I can take on something else. It's going to try and sabotage you because it wants to keep you safe. But you're not going to evolve unless you throw yourself in. And do you really want to be going into the new year repeating these karmic cycles and karmic patterns, right? Control is just one of them. The 6 ancestral patterns that I feel and that I've witnessed that play out within a lot of my clients' business and things that I personally have moved through is control, as I've just demonstrated. Also, the savior wound. So, the savior wound, or what I call the fixer, right? Those of you in my membership, I've left an audio for you today, so you'll know all about this. This is when we, and I call it from rescue to rise. So, this is when we're trying to rescue clients, rescue partners, rescue friendships, rescue family, right? We're trying to be the one that saves them. And what we do in that process is we actually self-sacrifice. Not a great look, okay? And you lose yourself in that process. Now, for you to become the embodied leader, you need to be able to alchemize the fixer in you. You need to be able to alchemize the savior. And when you do that, you move into the energy of empowerment. When you move into empowerment, you end up leading from sovereignty. You end up leading from embodied leadership. This is where your business, your messaging, your frequency becomes magnetic because you're actually emitting your authenticity, I should say, right? The third wound that we carry from our ancestors is what we call the witch wound. And I'm sure so many of you have heard of this. So many of you have probably already done certain layers of this wound of healing. But honestly, this, there's like so many layers to this healing, so many layers. And so when you carry the witch wound, I'm calling this from silence to spellbound, right? A lot of my clients that I've healed their witch wound, they have come to me with really bad sore throats and constantly get sore throats. So the outcome of not healing your witch wound is constantly suffering with physical throat problems because you have to heal it on a deep energetic level, right? You've got to heal it on a deep energetic level. Now, the witch wound is where you're not fully tapped into your unique soul's gifts, your unique psychic gifts, your unique healing gifts. But you'll know in this lifetime if you're an intuitive, you'll know in this lifetime if you're here to be awakened, you're one of the awakening ones, you'll know. You'll know if you're here to elevate the Earth's ascension and you're part of the planetary upgrade that's taking place right now. You'll know, you'll feel it, and my words will land. You'll just know. And so that plays out where you're not fully showing up online as you. You're hiding your psychic gifts. And I can demonstrate this with one of my incredible clients who I work with. at the beginning of this year. She is a brand and marketing strategist. And the first call we ever had, I said to her, oh my God, you are so intuitive and psychic. You don't even realize, but you're so in your head, you're so disconnected from your soul and you're operating from logic. That's why things are not feeling like with any meaning. Like, yeah, you're successful and you've got great clients, but you're not feeling fulfilled. You're lacking that depth because you haven't unlocked your true psychic intuitive gifts. You're hiding your psychic intuitive ability. So that's what we call the witch wound. And the underlying emotion is fear. We have to dig deeper and go, why are we not truly showing our unique gifts? And it's usually through fear of judgment, fear of betrayal, fear of rejection. Because years ago, when our ancestors were witches, were healers, were in the red tents, they were stoned. And this is actually what happened to me when I was taken through a past life regression. I was captured, taken to a dungeon, and I witnessed people being stoned. And so it's our responsibility in this lifetime to heal that. When we do, you'll be able to channel parts of your business, channel your offers. So, one of my incredible clients recently, she had one session with me, and during that session, I unlocked her next program, her pricing, the duration of that program, and the dates. Now I'm only able to do that because I've healed my witch wound and I am fully visible online and within my business and own who I am, right? You all know that I'm known as a light code leader. I'm known as light code symbols. I have my own unique light code method. You've seen me drawing the symbols. This is what I've been using for years within my client spaces. You know that. My brand identity. But I've had to heal the witch wound in order to be seen in my fullness and in order to be fully visible, right? The fourth wound that I see a lot within women in particular is what we call the father wound. Now, this is what I call from recognition to rule. So this is where we are not leading from what we want, we're leading from what we feel other people want. We are leading conditionally. We're doing something in the hope that we get a pat on the back, that we get validation, that we get approval, that we get praise. Now, this can show up in your life and your business when you're posting something online and then you're seeking for likes, seeking for engagement. Or maybe you've given a free training like this and you haven't had the recognition for it. So then you get resentful because you're like, hang on a minute. I'm sharing all this wisdom with you. You're getting amazing results. It's unlocked something within you, but you're not giving me anything back. It's transactional. You want to be able to give something in order to get something rather than just freely giving it. You're seeking validation, you're seeking approval rather than just actually saying, this is what I do and owning it with confidence and conviction. Okay. So when you heal that, there's literally no permission slips needed. You just you just lead as you are. You lead from your crown, right? The fifth ancestral pattern is the safety wound. Now, this shows up a lot within the physical body. So for me personally, I experienced a really severe back injury because we're holding the energy of not feeling safe within our body. And so your body goes into fight or flight. And if we don't heal it on a cellular level, it manifests into the physical. So if you're already experiencing physical issues around your root chakra at the base of your spine, it's highly likely that your body isn't feeling safe. And that safety wound comes from the ancestors living in fear, living through the war. That's been inherited and passed on through the lineage. And so when we heal that on a cellular level, we have this unshakable foundation for wealth, love, impact, and it allows you to build your business from a solid foundation, right? I don't need to tell you this, but you can't build a house on sand. You need a solid foundation, and your body's the same. Your body needs to feel safe in order to evolve and scale. And then the last wound is what I call the hustle wound, and I'm sure you've heard of this before. And this is what I call from grind to glow, right? When you're constantly hustling, constantly overdoing, constantly doing instead of being. You're over efforting because you've been taught and conditioned through your lineage that the more you do, the more you get rewarded. So when you heal this and you go through your unhealed ancestral wounds, you then step into the embodied leadership code, which is all about leading from frequency first. That's where magnetism begins, effort and ends. And so all of this is available and accessible to you when you decide that you are here to heal your lineage. When you decide that you are here as the change maker and you're here to break the cycles, that's when everything shifts. It's a decision. And when you do, everything in your external will change. So if you're experiencing some of those symptoms already, you'll already know that your soul is calling you to heal this on a deep level, on a deep energetic level. You're being called to recalibrate your frequency. And now is the time through the eclipse. So I would absolutely love to get your feedback from that because I know part of my soul's mission is to lead and to create generational wealth. And we do that through healing the lineage, through healing the ancestors, through healing some of these suppressed patterns that's keeping our energy in a lower vibration so that we can live our soul purpose, we can live our soul mission, so that we can create wealth and not necessarily an income increase. I'm talking about health, love, embodied friendships, conscious relationships, all of that falls under my generational wealth pyramid. And you'll know all about that if you've done my generational wealth training. And so this is the work that we are doing inside Light Code Leadership Academy. This is where we're uprooting these 6 core wounds. And we're doing this so that we can unlock your deepest soul gifts and we can activate your wealth codes. So this is your invitation. If you would like to go deeper within this journey, that's the space where you need to be. So I would love to hear from you your key takeaways from this, whether you've had any breakthroughs, whether this has landed for you, what you've learned, and what patterns you feel are showing up for you right now. And if you feel like your soul is meant to go deeper on this journey, then you can just send me a message and I will give you the details to go deeper inside the academy, where we're going to be doing more of this work and healing the six core ancestral wounds. So I'm sending you lots of love and I can't wait to see you inside.